The Galactic Summit was supposed to be the safest meeting place in the galaxy. Every species called it the Deathworld Summit, because only the most dangerous worlds sent representatives, planets filled with storms, radiation, predators, and impossible climates. Only the strongest civilizations were invited, and this year, for the first time in history, they invited a newcomer, humans. The hall of the summit was a colossal dome of crystal and light, floating in orbit around a neutron star. Inside sat the leaders of 30 alien empires, scaled, feathered, metallic, or mist-like. Each one had survived worlds that would melt ships and crush bones. When the announcement came that Earth's species had been accepted to attend, the hall erupted in laughter. Humans? One of the Vrax generals hissed, his four eyes narrowing. They live on a barely Category 4 world, fragile atmosphere, weak gravity, no apex predators. A chorus of low laughter spread around the table. They are soft creatures of comfort, not of death. Another added, but the summit's overseer raised a clawed hand, silencing the mockery. The invitation has been accepted. Their representative arrives within one cycle. The next day, the docking alarms rang. A small ship, compact, angular, and painted matte black, approached the summit station. No escorts, no armament, no defensive fields. The aliens watched, expecting a nervous ambassador or a diplomat wearing bright smiles. Instead, when the airlock opened, a single human stepped out, tall, calm, eyes sharp as steel. He wore no armor, no translator implant visible, just a simple black uniform with the insignia of Earth's coalition. His presence carried a quiet weight, like someone who had seen too many wars. "I am Commander Aiden Cross, representing humanity," he said, voice steady. The translator drones hesitated for half a second, adjusting to the tone. Low, commanding, perfectly clear. A faint tension spread through the hall. The overseer gestured. "You may speak, human. Welcome to the Deathworld Summit." Aiden stepped forward, scanning the alien faces. "I was told this summit recognizes the deadliest worlds in the galaxy," he said calmly. "Then I must ask, why am I the only one without a security escort?" A few delegates shifted uncomfortably. The Vrax general chuckled. "Because, human, your world is hardly a death world. It rains water, not acid. Your oceans are full of fish, not monsters. You were invited out of curiosity." Aiden smiled faintly. "Curiosity," he repeated. "That's a dangerous reason." The overseer leaned forward. "Tell us then, Commander, what makes your kind worthy to sit among the predators of the stars?" Aiden's eyes darkened, his tone still even. "You measure danger by your worlds, by your storms, your beasts, your gravity." He paused, then added softly, "We measure it by what we survive, even when the world doesn't try to kill us." The room grew still. Aiden continued, "Your death worlds shape you with claws and fangs. Ours shaped us with hunger, cold, and war. When nature stopped hunting us, we began hunting each other until there was nothing left to fear." The translator drones hesitated again, unsure how to render the emotion in his voice. The alien delegates exchanged uneasy glances. He took another step closer to the center. "You call this the Deathworld Summit," he said, "but death doesn't frighten humanity. It teaches us." The overseer tilted his head. "And what have you learned, human?" Aiden looked directly at him. "That everything dies, even fear." The silence that followed was heavier than gravity. The delegates shifted, uncertain if it was arrogance or truth. Before anyone could respond, one of the hall's security alarms blared. A breach warning. Pirates, massive energy signatures incoming. The overseer's aides panicked. "They found us, they're targeting the station." Shields were raised, weapons powered on, chaos erupted. But Aiden didn't move. He tapped the small device on his wrist and whispered, "Protocol Echo 1. The space outside shimmered, and for the first time the aliens saw it. A human warship, enormous and silent, uncloaking directly above the station. It wasn't sleek or decorative. It was brutal in design. Black armor etched with burn scars. The alien sensors screamed as its weapons array came online. The Vrax general stuttered, "You brought a death ship?" Aiden's expression didn't change. "You invited humanity to the Deathworld Summit. he said quietly. And humanity never arrives unarmed. The human ship fired once, not to destroy, but to cut through the pirate fleet with surgical precision. Dozens of enemy signals vanished in seconds. Then silence returned. When Aiden turned back toward the delegates, no one laughed. The overseer's voice was almost reverent. Your world? It truly is a death world. Aiden smiled just barely. No, he said. Our world taught us how to survive them. The human representative took his seat at the round table, and for the first time in centuries, the Deathworld Summit felt fear. The Deathworld Summit had never been silent for this long. Even the air seemed to hesitate, as if afraid to move. The aliens who once laughed at the idea of humanity now sat frozen, watching the human commander sit calmly among them. Commander Aiden Cross leaned back in his chair, expression unreadable. He didn't boast, didn't threaten, didn't smile. He simply waited, as if daring them to speak first. Finally, the overseer of the summit broke the silence, his mandibles clicking nervously. Commander Cross, your demonstration was unexpected. Aiden looked up slowly. You called for the strongest to attend. I only answered properly. A low growl came from the Vrax general, his crimson scales rippling in irritation. You humans rely on machines, on weapons, on tricks. You claim strength, but where is your endurance, your courage when stripped of technology? Aiden's eyes met his, cold and steady. Try me, he said simply. The hall murmured with unease. The overseer turned toward the Vrax. General Taver, what are you suggesting? A test, the general growled. Every delegate of the summit must prove their world's might through challenge. Let the human face one if he dares. Aiden didn't blink. Accepted. The overseer sighed. Very well. The test of endurance will begin at dawn. He looked at Aiden carefully. Human, this trial has killed beings who survived on worlds of acid and lava. You may forfeit. No one will think less of you. Aiden smiled faintly. You invited humanity to the Deathworld Summit. You should have known. We don't quit. By dawn, the arena of the Deathworld Summit opened beneath the station. A massive holographic environment designed to mimic lethal ecosystems. Each round simulated a different type of death world. Gravity storms, toxic jungles, crushing heat or freezing darkness. The test's rule was simple. Survive as long as possible. The Vrax general entered first, his scaled hide glimmering under the holographic sun. He lasted 30 minutes before the environment's acidic rains forced him to yield. The Cathar from the molten world survived 50 minutes before his armor melted into his skin. Then, it was the human's turn. Aiden stepped into the chamber wearing nothing but a thin pressure suit and an oxygen pack. The environment flickered, shifting from ice storms to deserts to collapsing canyons. He didn't run, didn't panic. He walked, calm and steady. When the heat rose to levels that warped metal, he built a shelter out of debris. When acid storms raged, he wrapped the melted fragments of alien armor into shields. When the ground split and gravity reversed, he tied himself down with torn cables and climbed like a soldier on an alien battlefield. He didn't fight nature, he adapted to it. The aliens watching from the observation decks began whispering, "He's not surviving. He's learning," one murmured. Another hissed. "He changes his strategy every second, like his body expects chaos." After an hour, the simulation shifted into the last phase, an endless blizzard where temperatures dropped below absolute survival limits. Aiden's oxygen readings fell, frost forming on his visor. The overseer rose from his seat, ready to end the trial. But Aiden raised one trembling hand toward the observation screen, signaling no. Minutes passed, then an hour. Every alien in the room fell silent as the storm raged. Finally, the simulation powered down automatically, unable to register human death. Aiden stumbled out, covered in frost and dust, still breathing. The hall erupted in disbelief. The overseer's voice was soft, full of awe. No species has lasted the full cycle. Aiden simply shrugged. You said endurance, not comfort. The Vrax general slammed his fist on the table, his pride wounded. Machines, luck, stubbornness, nothing more. Aiden turned his head slowly, eyes cold. General, on Earth we have a saying, he said quietly. The weak learn to run, the strong learn to fight. But humans, we learn to endure until the stars themselves surrender. The alien's glare faltered. Even the overseer looked unsettled. What kind of world makes beings like you? He asked softly. Aiden's reply was simple. A world that never loved us, but never killed us fast enough. Silence returned, but this time, it wasn't mockery. It was respect mixed with something else. Fear, oblivion filled the hall again as the holograms powered down. The overseer finally stood, his voice formal now. The Deathworld Summit acknowledges humanity as a Category 10 survival species. From this day, humans are no longer guests, they are equals. Aiden nodded once. We didn't come to be equals, he said quietly. We came to remind the galaxy that survival isn't about power, it's about will. The Vrax general snarled but didn't argue. The overseer simply bowed his head, and as Aiden walked out of the chamber, the aliens realized something they'd never admitted before. Every creature feared death, but humans somehow had learned to make death fear them. News of the humans' trial spread faster than light by the next solar rotation. Every major communication channel across the galactic network carried the same headline: the species that endured the impossible. Humanity survives the Deathworld trials. In the halls of the summit, the atmosphere changed. Where once there was mockery, now there was silence. Where there was arrogance, now there was unease. The Vrax general who had mocked Aiden avoided his gaze. The crystalline delegates of the Shiren Empire whispered among themselves. Even the cold, machine-like archons ran simulations trying to understand how a species of such fragile biology could endure what others could not. For the first time in history, fear began to shift direction, and it pointed toward humanity. Commander Aiden Cross walked through the observation deck of the summit station, beyond the glass walls. The neutron star burned like an unblinking eye. Behind him, Darian, his aide and only other human present, followed quietly. They're afraid of us, Darian said softly. Aiden didn't turn. They should be, but why, sir? Darian asked. We didn't threaten them. Aiden looked out at the distant stars. You don't have to threaten predators to scare them, he said. When they see something that can't be broken, they start to wonder what it might do if it decided to fight back. Later that day, a private meeting was held in the summit chamber. Representatives from the 13 strongest empires gathered in secret. Their holographic images flickered in the dim light as they debated in whispers. The humans are dangerous, hissed the Vrax general, his claws tapping the table. They survived what should have killed them 100 times over, a Shiren delegate responded. Her voice melodic but sharp. They claim peace, but they bring warships to meetings, another. From the metallic Archon Legion, spoke in a cold mechanical tone. They learn faster than any species on record. Their adaptability is anomalous. The overseer of the summit listened, silent until the voices died down. You all fear them, he said slowly. But fear alone is not reason to destroy a civilization. The Vrax slammed his hand on the table. You forget the last time something like this happened. The Kroth evolved beyond control, and they burned 5 worlds before we stopped them. The Shiren nodded. And what if these humans do the same? The overseer's eyes dimmed. Then we will face the same mistake again. While the aliens argued, humanity listened. Oblivion, the stealth AI vessel orbiting above Earth's moon, intercepted their transmissions easily. Back on Earth in a dim control room deep beneath the Andes, General Sarai Vega watched the recordings with cold eyes. So the galaxy wants to test us again, she muttered. An aide beside her asked, Should we respond, ma'am? She shook her head. No. Commander Cross is doing exactly what he must. He's letting them reveal their fear. Fear is always the first step to respect. At the summit, the overseer called Aiden back into the chamber. He stood in the center once again, under the vast dome of light, surrounded by eyes that watched him like he was a weapon waiting to be used. Commander Crossbaum, the overseer said carefully. Many are concerned about your species' potential for aggression. Aiden tilted his head slightly. Potential? He repeated. The overseer nodded. Your history shows conflict, endless wars, violence beyond reason. How can we trust that you will not bring such chaos to our worlds? Aiden stepped forward, calm and steady. You think we love war, he said softly. You're wrong. He looked around the hall, meeting every gaze. Every scar on our history exists because we hated it. We learned pain so well that peace became the only thing worth dying for. The hall stayed quiet. He continued, You call us violent because we survived. But what you don't see is that we build hospitals beside battlefields. We rescue even our enemies. We turn ruins into cities. You measure strength by power. We measure it by compassion that refuses to die. The overseer leaned back. Speechless, even the cold mechanical archons paused their data streams. Aiden finished. You call yourselves the Deathworld races. But only humanity learned to live with death and still build beauty beside it. Silence hung heavy in the air. And in that silence, something shifted again. Respect? Not fear began to bloom, but far beyond the summit. In the black regions of space, something ancient stirred. A fleet unlike any other. Machines built before the Federation. Awakened from dormancy after detecting human transmissions. They were remnants of the old galactic wars, designed to eliminate all biological threats. And now they had found a new signal to follow. A human voice carrying through the stars. Everything dies, even fear. The machines began to move. And for the first time, the galaxy would see what humanity truly became when fear itself came hunting. The alarms of the summit station blared without warning. A low mechanical hum filled the void between stars. Echoing through every sensor array at first, the alien delegates thought it was a system error, another false reading, but then the screens lit up. Millions of red signals, cold and precise, were approaching from the outer rim. The overseer's voice trembled as he read the data. Unknown fleet signatures, mechanical origin, no biological life signs detected. The Vrax general slammed his claws on the table. That can't be possible. The war machines were destroyed millennia ago. The Archon representative, its metallic form shimmering, responded flatly. Correction, they were disabled. Not destroyed. Commander Aiden Cross stood silent in the center of the chaos. His jaw tightened as he studied the holographic display. The symbols were old, but he recognized them. Designation, Omega Harvesters, he whispered. Darian turned to him, pale. You know them? Aiden nodded slowly. They were built to cleanse life, an old galactic weapon that turned on its creators. The overseer's mandibles clicked nervously. They're heading straight for the summit station. Aiden's eyes narrowed. Then they've detected the gathered species. A single strike could erase every advanced race in one attack. The aliens panicked. Shouting orders, demanding evacuation ships. The Vrax general growled, Activate the station's defense grid. The Archon replied, I already did. Insufficient firepower detected. Survival probability 0.2%. For the first time, the galaxy's most powerful civilization stood helpless, and a single human stepped forward. Aiden's voice cut through the noise, calm and commanding. Everyone, listen to me, he said. This station won't survive a direct assault, but we can draw their attention away. The overseer stared. How? You have one ship, Commander. Aiden turned to Darian. Not one, he said quietly. A fleet. He tapped his wrist communicator, sending a coded signal through encrypted human channels. Across light years, hidden human ships that had been observing the summit came to life. Dozens of vessels uncloaked around the neutron star, sleek black hulls shining against the burning light. Each bore the same insignia, the mark of Earth's Defense Command. The Vrax general hissed, You brought an army. Aiden shook his head. No, a promise. Oblivion, the flagship, appeared last. Massive and silent, its presence alone dimmed the stars around it. The AI's voice echoed through the communication system. Commander Cross, human fleet online, awaiting directives. Aiden's eyes hardened. All units, defensive formation, prioritize civilian extraction routes. The aliens stared in disbelief. You would risk your ships to protect us? The overseer asked. Aiden glanced at him, his tone steady. You invited humanity to your summit. That makes you our guests too. The machine fleet entered the system like a storm of metal and fire. Thousands of ships, cold and endless. The human fleet engaged instantly. Oblivion led the charge, unleashing waves of plasma bursts that burned through the dark. Each human ship fought like it had a soul, moving in perfect rhythm. defending the aliens who had once mocked them. The aliens watched in stunned silence from the station. The Vrax general whispered, "They fight like they have nothing to lose," the Archon replied. "Incorrect, they fight as if losing is not an option." Inside Oblivion, Aiden stood before the main console, surrounded by holographic maps of the battle. The AI spoke, enemy numbers exceeding projection, probability of defeat increasing. Aiden grinned faintly. "Then we fight smarter. Recommend adaptation protocol?" The AI asked always, Aiden said. The ship system shifted, algorithms rewriting mid-battle. Human weapons evolved with each engagement, their tactics learning faster than the machines could respond. Every missile that failed became data, every explosion a lesson. It was evolution happening in real time. Human fleet adapting at exponential rate, Oblivion reported. Aiden's eyes glowed with fierce determination. "That's humanity, Oblivion. We don't outnumber. We outlast." The machines began to falter, their perfect formations breaking apart one by one. Human ships turned their fire into coordinated bursts, forming a blazing ring of defense around the summit. The aliens on the station could only watch as the void lit up like a second sun. Hours later, silence fell once again. The machine fleet had been driven back into the abyss. Wreckage floated among the stars, glowing like dying embers. The Overseer's voice shook as he spoke over the comm. "Humanity, you saved us," Aiden's voice came through, calm and tired. "No, we just reminded the galaxy why life is worth saving." The aliens who had feared humanity now looked upon them with reverence. They saw not monsters, not warmongers, but protectors born from chaos. As the human ships reformed and prepared to return home, Aiden looked out at the dying light of the neutron star and whispered quietly, "Deathworld or not, we never stop answering the call." Oblivion's AI responded softly. "Commander, mission accomplished, but long-range scans detect remnants of Omega fleets retreating." Aiden nodded slowly. "Let them run," he said. "Next time they'll know humanity doesn't run from fear." But deep in the void, far beyond the rim, the Omega harvesters began to rebuild. Their cold logic whispered a single phrase through their networks. Humanity, the anomaly, must be erased. The war for survival wasn't over. It had only just begun, and the galaxy now understood the truth. They had invited humanity to the Deathworld Summit, and humanity had brought the death of fear itself. The stars had never looked so quiet. But behind that silence, danger stirred again. The Omega harvesters were not gone. They were rebuilding in the dark. Every fragment of their broken fleet reassembled into something more powerful, more calculating. On the summit station, the surviving delegates gathered once more. Now their voices carried no arrogance, no laughter, only unease. "The machines are adapting to human tactics," the Archon warned, its voice metallic but grim. "They are rewriting themselves the same way humans do." The Overseer turned to Commander Aiden Cross. "Then we are doomed, are we not?" Aiden stood near the viewport, his reflection shimmering against the cold void. He didn't answer at first, then he said quietly, "No, they've just learned the wrong lesson." The Overseer frowned. "Wrong lesson?" Aiden turned, his gaze sharp. "They think copying us will make them stronger, but they'll never understand why we fight." He stepped forward, his voice steady but filled with fire. "They fight to erase, we fight to endure, they evolve to conquer. We evolve to protect." He looked at the assembled delegates. "That difference is everything." Hours later, humanity's fleet regrouped near the neutron star. Oblivion floated at the center, its black hull gleaming like polished steel under dying light. Darian stood beside Aiden on the command deck, his voice low. "Sir, sensors show over 10,000 harvester signatures approaching. Every star around the summit is going dark." Aiden nodded slowly. "Then they're not just attacking us. They're attacking everything alive." Across the communication channels, alien voices echoed. "Vrax." Shiran, Archons, and others, all requesting instructions, all looking toward the humans for leadership. It was the first time in galactic history that every species looked to a single commander. A human. Aiden took a deep breath. "Patch me through," he said. Oblivion's AI complied, projecting his image across 100 worlds. "This is Commander Aiden Cross of Earth's Defense Command," he began. 5 days ago, humanity came here as guests. You mocked us. You doubted us, and still, when death came for you, we stood between you and it." He paused, eyes burning like twin stars. "We're not asking for your loyalty. We're asking for your courage. Because the machines coming for us don't care who you are to them. We're all just things that breathe. The broadcast went silent, then one by one voices answered back. The Vrak's general, his pride finally broken. The Vrak stand with humanity. The Shiren Empress followed. The Shiren fleets will join your defense, even the Cold Archon said. We calculate humanity's command probability optimal. We obey. And so, for the first time since the dawn of the galaxy, every Deathworld, every species, every being united under one banner, humanity's. The Omega fleet arrived like a storm of black fire, thousands of ships stretching beyond the horizon. No sound, no message, only death, oblivion, all systems ready? Aiden asked. Confirmed, Commander. The AI replied. Human-AI integration complete, synchronization optimal. Aiden placed his hand on the console. Then let's remind the stars who we are. The human-led alliance unleashed everything. Energy bursts, plasma storms, kinetic rails. The void turned into light, but the machines adapted faster than anyone thought possible. Their armor changed, their formations twisted, learning mid-battle. Oblivion's core glowed bright blue. Commander, adaptive rate exceeding human limits, the AI warned. Aiden smiled faintly. Good, then it's time to show them what machines will never have. What is that? Oblivion asked. Aiden's eyes softened. Soul. He activated the manual override, linking his neural implant directly into the warship's AI. Commander Cross, this will burn your mind, Oblivion warned. I know, Aiden whispered. But humanity was never afraid to burn for what mattered. Together, man and machine became one. The ship's energy surged beyond control, a pulse of willpower radiating through the network. The entire Allied fleet received the signal. Human emotion translated into command code. Courage, rage, hope, and unity became weapons. The Omega fleet hesitated for the first time. Their perfect synchronization faltered as something alien entered their systems. A heartbeat. Aiden's voice echoed across the comms. Remember this, machines, you can copy our logic. Our weapons, our tactics, but you will never copy what drives us. Oblivion's reactors overloaded, unleashing a blinding wave of energy that tore through space. It wasn't a weapon. It was a pulse of creation. The shockwave shattered the Omega code, erasing their core programming. And in that light, the machine stopped moving. The battlefield fell silent. The stars flickered back to life hours later. The summit station drifted peacefully above the neutron star once more. Oblivion floated nearby, scarred but still intact. Aiden's body lay in the medical bay. Barely alive, his pulse faint but steady. Darian stood beside him, whispering, You did it, sir. They're gone. The overseer entered, bowing his head. The galaxy owes humanity its life, he said quietly. Darian looked down at Aiden, then at the window where the stars glowed brighter than ever. No, he said softly. The galaxy owes humanity its courage. Weeks later, as the rebuilt summit convened again, the seat once reserved for humanity remained empty, but the inscription above it now read, For the species that taught the galaxy how to live without fear. And far across the stars, the ship Oblivion drifted silently, its AI voice whispering to itself, Commander Cross. Mission complete. Humanity endures. The galaxy would never forget the day fear died, because that day a fragile species from a small blue world stood against the impossible and won.